What's up, everybody? I'm the Layman, and it's time for my RWBY analysis of the week and summer episode summary. There is just no title for this. Like, I've accepted that at this point. But oh boy, this episode did a lot of things. A lot of things I like, and a lot of things that I have more questions about. But things I like specifically, and I'll get to them all in due time. I promise. If I remember them, because I totally have a script. I'm totally reading off of a script for this. Anywho, and yeah, I still can't decide whether the Volume 4 opening or this opening is my more favorite, but whatever. Forgetting the opening for a second, the first scene of the episode is Crow walking into a bar, Natch, and whose voice do we hear? This is the first line of the episode, mind. Whose voice do we hear but Nick Lanny Patorlandis of Team 4 Star as a bartender? Which sort of makes sense, I guess, a little bit, but as a fan of Team 4 Star, it's nice to hear their voices in my favorite show of all time. And yeah, the reason Crow is there in the first place is that he's looking for more of his colleagues, specifically those who were stationed in Haven, if a scene later in the episode is any indication. But yeah, apparently the first guy he's looking for has an outstanding bar tab, and yeah, it doesn't go as smoothly as he hopes, and yeah, he ends up leaving with and there's this funny bit with the knife sticking out of the door next to his head. Just watch the episode, you'll see it. And basically the rest of the time that he's looking for his colleagues / peers, it doesn't really go well. Nobody's seen them. They're all gone. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and then he gets to this one house looking for a woman named Heather Shields, and what follows is probably one of the most feel-baity things ever in any RWBY episode ever, in anything really, because a little, like, the door answers, it's a guy there, doesn't really say anything when Crow asks, then a little girl, like 4 or 5 years old if I had to guess, walks up and asks, "Daddy, does this man know where Mommy is?" Yeah, I'm just drinking those tears down. Just that is what I live off of. the feely tears of the fandom. But yeah, and throughout all this, Crow is basically like checking names off of a list, or crossing names off a list, I should say. This being the most recent, and yeah, like either all the huntsmen are like still out on patrol, or confirmed as being KIA for all intents and purposes, at least as far as I could tell. And yeah, the search for allies is not looking good for him, not at all. Yeah, of course we can't focus on that scene for the entire episode, so we then cut back to Raven's bandit camp, where she's sitting down for tea with Yang and Weiss. You know, doing the whole, here, have my hospitality, while the heroes just are having none of it and want answers. And boy, do we get some answers. Some questions too, but a lot of answers. And just, there's so much to unpack. It's just, so, like, for starters, did you know that Crow and Raven were actually attending Beacon in order to figure out how to, like, in addition to fighting Grimm, how to actually fight against other huntsmen? Yeah, that was a thing. And like, the way Raven brings it up, she's trying to not so subtly throw shade at her twin brother. Yeah, among other things, like Ozpin, you know, telling them about the whole Salem thing and that whole business. And of course she's framing it as she's the victim, clearly. Of course, the fact that it was specifically Ozpin's fault that she and Crow are actually able to turn into birds sort of lends some bit of credence, but I highly doubt that it was forced upon them. Like, I mean, judging by Ozpin's character of what we know so far, and I could be proven wrong in the future, but he would not, like, force people to do that, like, unless it was the absolute last resort at all. But yeah, throughout oh yeah, and Yang also manages to confront Raven about, abandoning her and Tai Yang. So that was fun. Not really anything comes of it, but yeah, that at least gets brought up. Unfortunately, the stinger from the end of Volume 2 is not, so unfortunately we're gonna have to wait on that. But on the bright side, Raven does agree to actually send Yang and Weiss on their way to Crow and RWBY. Although it's with the caveat that Yang might be picking a side that is not hers come any future encounters. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Yeah. Then we cut back to Team Crow and Juniper back at their home in our temporary abode in Haven, where it's not so subtly hinted at that, like, the camera work does not specifically show this, but it's very not subtly hinted at that Yang and Weiss are coming through one of Raven's portals right behind Crow. The rest of them don't know this. They're busy in the kitchen, like, cooking up a feast for everybody Crow's supposed to be bringing back with him. RWBY burns some of the food, which it's not baking, so she can be forgiven this little slight. I mean, hey, at least it's not Weiss trying to cook. That Weiss would probably burn water. I don't know how, but she'd find a way. I'm sure there are ways in Remnant to burn water. But yeah, Crow comes back in, is calling RWBY up. That's when the things burn. And then 3/4 of Team RWBY are back together again. And there's a big tearful hug with RWBY stuttering about how she didn't mean to do so, typical sorry I left without telling you stuff. And then Weiss is looking despondent, and the two sisters, like, invite Weiss into the hug, and they all hug, and it's sweet. And that was basically this episode in a nutshell. And I did not think we would get 3/4 of RWBY back so soon. Like, we only just got Weiss and Yang reunited in the last episode, and now Weiss, Yang, and RWBY are back together. Blake, come on. Your team needs you. We all know it's gonna happen. Just go ahead and do it. Seriously. But no, yeah. This episode was, there was a lot of things answered and a couple questions raised, like why specifically are all the huntsmen in Haven, like, missing or dead? Although I have some theories about that. Along with what exactly happened that Raven... Okay, well, no, Raven is not Crow, therefore she's not obligated to think exactly the same way he is. But what exactly happened with Ozpin that cemented in her mind that Ozpin was not an ally? That's another thing. And also the exact reason why she left Tai Yang and Yang when she did, why she did. But honestly, the fact that most of Team RWBY's back together again, like, that just makes me too happy. Again, hurry up, Blake, alright, and bring Sung along with you. We like him. Maybe your team will even help you knock some sense into Ilya, I don't know. But it was not a World of Remnant episode like I thought. I'm actually missing those. Now I want more. And not just because I'm kind of a slut for encyclopedic knowledge about my favorite series so that I could write more fanfiction about it, although that's part of it, but I do want to learn a little more about the world and the events that helped shape it. Like, it's fascinating stuff. Anyway, maybe we'll get that next time. It's been 6 episodes. They've got to have something else planned. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, the odds are getting increasingly greater that it's going to be another supplemental episode instead of an actual plot episode like this one was next time. But regardless, I hope whatever happens, I hope to see you guys next week.